Welcome in, everybody, to Extreme Radio, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com. Request your appointment online and mention you're with 8-Man Extreme. You get $20 off your new patient office visit fee. GracePointe Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way, and sponsored by Dr. Sterling Foster. Go to drsterlingfoster.com for all your digestive issues and chiropractic needs.
We're also sponsored by Jets Pizza, specifically Springfield, Clarksville, Fort Campbell. But no matter where you are, it's always a great time to say, let's get Jets. After I don't think they're open after a game on Friday night, but go get them maybe a little pregame meal. You want to stop by, grab a pizza, eat it during the game. Most of the fields we go to don't have a rule about outside food, so there you go. There's your in-game meal right there. Mm-hmm. We're also brought to you by IHateBuyingInsurance.com, Mr. Joe Graves. Just go check them out. Go give them a look. You're not locking yourself into anything. You're not saying you're going to. You're just saying, I'll give it a shot. That's all we're asking. IHateBuyingInsurance.com. Super easy to remember. You know what other website's super easy to remember, Spencer?
8manextreme.com.
8manextreme.com. I've got it pulled up on my computer right now. Matter of fact, if I didn't, you should probably worry about it. But just good stuff. Updated scores, updated schedules. The rosters we're working on, it's as coaches feed them to us and as we can find them. Still missing a few.
Just
classical. We're looking at you. Anyways. But you can see a list of our sponsors, all great people that make this stuff happen. That Extreme merch store. You get your 8=11 shirt. The new batch of shirts have the logo on the back. Super great material. Actually, we're supposed to be having some. Oh, they're here right now. That's perfect.
We got our
they're
merch
here.
guy who's bringing in.
We're going to get some pictures of them. But they just got here. That's some hot stuff. We better watch that door. It might catch on fire.
Fresh off the presses.
We better be careful.
Right. Happy Labor Day weekend, everybody. James is going to step aside to get those shirts just to feel them up. He's got to feel those shirts and see how amazing they are. And, again, happy Labor Day weekend, everybody. I believe I mentioned it on broadcast on Friday. If I didn't, hope you're enjoying your Labor Day weekends wherever you may be, listening to this after the weekend or listening to this right now or whenever you're listening to it. Happy Labor Day weekend, of course, and happy post-Labor Day weekend if you're listening to this via podcast later on. Such a great weekend to just relax and unwind and such. And we had a great kickoff to Labor Day weekend on Friday. We'll get to that broadcast in just a moment. But
I did. Thanks for saying I had a great kickoff. I got off early. Mm-hmm. It was great.
We'll get to that game.
You're talking about the game. Gotcha.
Yeah, the game was a great kickoff to Labor Day weekend. But technically, if you want to consider Thursday part of the weekend per se, that was a great kickoff to it as well.
Only if you get off early.
Yes, only if you get off early. And in my case, no, because I have classes 5 days a week.
Man, if you hear me talking, I'm doing Instagram. Man, that's some hot stuff. Look at that.
He's doing a
logo
social media post right now
on the back.
Getting all the good stuff on there.
Hot diggity dog. That's good stuff. These shirts you can get on 8manextreme.com. Like I said, we're also going to start bringing them around with us.
We'll start bringing
each broadcast. So there you go.
Yep, you can
By the way, if you're watching this, it's because you're not listening to Extreme Radio. If you're listening to Extreme Radio, go check this out later.
This live.
But if you're watching this, you're not listening to Extreme Radio. What are you doing?
Well, quite frankly, what are you doing with your life? Time to get right into the scores. Helmet schedules, not top to bottom this time because one of the games is on Thursday, but just follow along on your helmet schedules. Thursday, we had the first Thursday game of the year. 40-19, the Knights of Riverside got it done on the road against the St. Andrew Sewanee Mountain Lions. They traveled up to the mountain. They got the W, and the Riverside is now 2-1 on their record in the South.
You know who else traveled up the mountain, Spencer?
Who's that?
I traveled up the mountain.
You did. You went to go see that game, and you're going to tell us a little bit more in depth about it. But it was a fantastic game for Riverside.
What is this?
Especially, you're looking at the bottles that are the smaller one.
Look at a little mini water bottle. Give me that legit water bottle. Sorry.
So
ADHD.
40-19, the Knights are now 2-1 in the South, and we were just talking about this. We're still waiting on confirmation for how the playoff bracket is going to work, because this is the question of the games that are coming up in the next few weeks between the South. They're really going to shape the playoffs. But the question is, say Riverside is the number 2 seed in the South, and they win, and the number 3 seed in the South wins on the other side of the first round. Who faces off against whom if they're both from the South?
Well, first round would be 2 North, 3 South.
No, I know that, but I'm saying if the number 2 seed from the South, say that's Riverside,
If the 2
and
and
then
the 3 seeds
the 3
win.
from the South,
Right.
who faces
Right,
off
right,
against
right.
who? That's the big question we're still waiting on.
I would almost say 3 South plays 1 North, and then 1 South plays 2 North, or
really
2
think so.
South. Because you still have and it might depend on who has the better record
But if they're
between
both undefeated,
between the 1 seeds.
if they're both undefeated,
Well, then it goes down to a coin toss.
the conference loves coin tosses. We've learned that very much. They go to a coin toss, as we've heard, unless the bylaws are updated. But we haven't seen the 2019 bylaws, so we have
Where
no
are they
idea.
at, though?
We don't know. No one knows where they're at. Anyways, but back to the game scores. 40-19, regardless of playoff seedings, regardless of any of that coming in the future. The Mountain Lions are right now on their season. They are 0-2 with that forfeit to Franklin Christian. Looking for a win, and it's going to be tough going down the stretch of the next 2 games for the Mountain Lions. But for Riverside, they do not have a South game until after their next game against Freedom. But for Riverside, what was the best thing that you saw from that game up on the mountain?
Really, their special teams. I mean, I've never seen a game where over 50% of the touchdowns. Now, of course, there were 59 points scored in this, almost 60 points scored in this game, and over 50% of the touchdowns were not offensive. I think Riverside had 3, Swanee had 2, because Swanee had a fumble recovery for a touchdown. Riverside had a fumble recovery. They had an interception return, kickoff return, and a punt return. So 5 out of 9 touchdowns were non-offensive touchdowns. But both of the teams, just great. I liked what I saw from Swanee's defense. Just really a rough and tough. And of course, they just started practicing maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. But the defense has really come together. Offense, they're still working on. I'll tell you who was a star, and there were really 2 guys that stuck out to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sammy Morris for Riverside Christian and Caleb McLean for Swanee. Caleb McLean played quarterback. He kicked, he punted, he played linebacker. He played running back for a second. Just doing it all for his team. Cam Robinson showed up. He was really good. For Riverside, Crutcher Ezel made some plays. David Black, he really hasn't missed a whole lot. Hasn't missed the beat a whole lot. Just stepping right back in. They've got Jay Krubelski to close things out. Riley Hall is the reigning Extreme Player of the Week. He was Week 3 Extreme Player of the Week, voted on by y'all. Thank you for the votes, by the way.
Of course.
Moving the voting to our web. I wasn't telling you thanks. He's over here.
I was saying,
of course. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome for the
You're
vote.
welcome.
I didn't vote on the website this week, though I should have.
Why?
I'm
Even
used to
I
being on
voted.
social
I'm not
media.
going to tell you who I voted for, but even I voted.
I wouldn't even tell you
Anyways,
who I voted for. I have
hey,
the right to tell you if I voted.
we have a
or if I
website to
didn't
move
vote.
the voting to now.
Yep.
It's 8manextreme.com. Go check it out. Anyways, so reigning Player of the Week, Riley Hall, dominant as always. And it was a good ball game. Like I said, I've been to games, not necessarily at Swanee, but I've been to games where I've kind of gone out of my way a little bit to go, even if we're not broadcasting it. And then I've been like, man, this was not worth it. This was not one of those games. I'm glad that I took the time and got off early to go up on the mountain and watch that game. Great game.
Yeah, it was a great game to see, and Riverside moves to 2-1 on their South record. They've got 2 more games in the South to help for their playoff seeding. Next week, they host the Freedom Cowboys out of Huntsville, Alabama, and Swanee, as they are 0-2, they travel on the road for a tough game against the Lancaster Christian Academy Knights. So we'll see how their games go forward. We'll get to the game we broadcast in just a moment, but we'll first talk about the Bowling Green Christian Academy Warriors. They had a rematch against Franklin Christian Academy. The Falcons got it done at home. Instead of the highest scoring game last year in favor of Bowling Green, which was at 78-50, the Falcons got the same score that they got last year against the Warriors at 50 points. But
I didn't realize that.
Bowling Green, not even close. 6 points only put on the board.
Look at you.
So the Falcons got it done at home, and even though it's not a match representative of their playoff seeding, it's a huge motivational factor for the Falcons with a tough game they picked up going into next week. We'll, of course, talk about that later. But for the Falcons, they got it done. They got the vengeance that they wanted, and they didn't have to put up any more points than they did last year.
Another senior, Daniel Holcomb, he's been around the block for a minute, but he really showed up. Asa Sheets is having a good year. Andrew Hasley, I'm pulling up some of the stats right now. Sheets, 4 carries, over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns, had 2 interceptions. Andrew Hasley, 3 catches, over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns for him as well. 7 kickoffs for over 300 yards, 2 touchbacks. Daniel Holcomb, the numbers don't look gaudy, but 8 of 12, 148 yards, 2 touchdowns. I mean, that's all you can ask. And no interceptions. That's the big thing. No interceptions, no fumbles. That's the biggest thing you can ask for out of your quarterback. Just give you a chance. Offense, 200. Let's see, offensive totals. It'd have been 430 yards of offense and 7 touchdowns. Yeah, 7 touchdowns. So, I mean, that's all you can ask. No, that's not 7 touchdowns. There's no way that's 7 touchdowns. I'm trying to check my math, Spence.
7 times 6 equals 42.
Yeah, you're right.
So that'd be 7 touchdowns. It could be 7 touchdowns. Some 2-point conversions.
All right, you're right. Homeschool math failed me again. But anyways, just a great game overall for FCA. For Bowling Green, they're struggling a little bit. Yes, they have the second best player in the league, but you can't just have that by himself. He's got to have pieces around him, and he's got guys who are developing into those spots. But just a huge step for FCA, and they really put themselves in a great position for a game against Riverside in a couple weeks. That I think that game will be for 3rd place in the South and for that 3rd playoff spot, which now that game takes on a whole new meaning. It's not.
It's not a bowl slot.
It's not for a bowl slot or something like It's to
for
make
a
it to the
chance
playoffs.
To fight for the championship.
And if you're Riverside, it's there in Riverside, and you beat FCA last year. So there you go.
And another situation before we continue on the scores that I just noticed, FCA is in the same position as they were last year of if they win all of their remaining South games, they're number 1 seed. Because that's what I'm looking at. That's what it was last year, where they had to win against.
Spencer, doesn't that happen? Isn't that the case for for Ezell and Lancaster too?
For Ezell and Lancaster, looking here.
You went out in your
That's
first
true.
seed.
Looking at FCA, they've got 4 South games, though Ezell only has for Ezell and Lancaster, they control their own destiny. But last year, it was the same thing for FCA, where they had a game against Lancaster at home, and then the Webb School and FCS.
Oh, so you're talking about in terms of like a stretch that they have.
Yep.
Where
this is the same kind of stretch they had last year. Now, granted,
you.
it's the same stretch that Ezell and Lancaster have. With you win out your remaining South games, obviously you're going to win the South.
But you got a game with Freedom in the middle of that.
Yep, especially for
after
Franklin
a bye
Christian.
this week.
Yeah, Freedom's got.
Oh no, not a bye. I'm sorry. There's not a bye this week for FCA.
Yeah, the Freedom Cowboys. They have 5 games of that they're playing against MTAC teams. They finish it with traveling up to Bowling Green. A lot larger travel for the Freedom Cowboys.
The Alabama situation is interesting. Of course, Freedom's an independent team, so they're not in a conference. They don't have a set teams they have to play. So it's a travel ball schedule. They're playing 5 Tennessee teams. They're playing Evangel Christian. They played Ezekiel Academy the Friday night, and they won. So far they're 2-0 on the season, but. Kind of like a Madisonville Defenders kind of situation where you just make your schedule. Of course, they couldn't travel a whole lot. Freedom's very established, so they can travel. Even up to Bowling Green, they can cross through Tennessee and go all the way up to Bowling Green.
So Franklin Christian taking that win against Bowling Green. They picked up a game next week. They're going to be traveling up to White House to face off against the defending conference champions, the Christian Community Colts.
Yep.
And for their opponent that they were victorious against, the Warriors, they go into a bye week this week. They're only one of 2 teams that are on a rest.
We'll break that down in a minute.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a moment. The other game that we were not able to broadcast, which were 2 other games, we'll start out with the other teams in the North. Christian Community, speaking of the defending conference champions, they had an intense matchup against the Tennessee Heat. I want to say the lowest combined score that the Heat and Christian Community have ever had in their history together.
Probably.
Probably. Somebody asked our statistician about it, but 24-6 in White House at May Flanders Field. The Colts, they were almost held to as low of a score as they had against the Freedom Cowboys last year. That game ended 16-0, but the Heat did not get shut out. It's 24-6. The Colts defending their conference championship. They are 2-0 in the North. Technically 3-0 if you count the Sacred Heart forfeit, but 2-0 officially.
Nah, 2-0.
2-0 officially, and still on track to control their own destiny going into the playoffs.
Yeah, and it's good. It was good for them to get back in the win column after the loss to Lancaster. Probably the closest game those two have ever had in their history. Of course, a great rivalry, but the Heat have never beat CCS, and the last few years especially, there have been some blowouts. But and they didn't play for a couple of years because with the Heat being in the South.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're back in the North. The rivalry's back active again. And the Heat played them really closely. I got a chance to watch the film earlier today. And back and forth. You had some fumbles for CCH, which they struggled with that against Lancaster. But then Goolsby threw a couple interceptions, and that's an issue as well. So not necessarily, I would say, the prettiest game, but it was effective for CCS. They picked up the win. If you're the Heat, here's the thing. That's only one conference. That's only one divisional loss. That's only one.
Mm-hmm.
You still got 3 other teams to play, and one of them's coming up this week. So, you just got to shake that out of your head and get ready for the next team.
And that's another Thursday game, too, with that 2 Thursday games this week. Of course, this past week was the first Thursday game of the regular season. And for the Tennessee Heat, not too much to worry about. They take one loss in the North. They are winless at the moment, but with the playoff seeding only dependent on their record in the MTAC North. It's good news for them.
Well, they're still within striking distance of that third seed, too.
Yep, it's full striking distance. Christian Community takes that win. They're now 2-0 in the North. They did have a bye week due to Sacred Heart dropping out, but they picked up a game against Franklin Christian Academy, a rematch of the 2017 MTAC semifinal playoff game. Always a good matchup to watch between those teams.
Well, if you're going to go down that path, it was a rematch of the 2015 championship.
Rematch of the 15 championship as well. Always a great rivalry between those two teams. And for the Tennessee Heat, as we said, they've got 5 days from now. They play against the Lighthouse Christian School Lions on a Thursday matinee. The other game that we were not at to broadcast, but if we had been at that game to broadcast, it would have gotten out of hand real quick. We probably would have had to bring somebody else in the broadcast booth and get them to talk during the game. 71-13. The Eagles beat the Classical Knights, and another South win. And I don't mean to steal your thunder on this because I'm sure you're going to throw this stat out. But
go ahead and steal it.
In the last, what is it now? 1, 2, 3 games, the Eagles have not scored less than 60 points against their opponents, and only one of those games was in the North. So, Izell moves to 2-0 in the South. Classical moves to 0-2 in the South, which they still have a reasonable chance to go for that number 3 seed, but if they take another loss here in the South, it's going to be detrimental to their chances.
Yeah, Izell, this would have been, a lot of people are going to give credit to Charlton. This was one of the best moves that they could have ever made, was coming to 8-man, and a lot of schools need to look at it. Grace Christian, we were talking about it the other day in our group conversation. Grace Christian is 0-2. Zion Christian is struggling. One of their only wins was against Grace, and then they lost another game Friday night. So there's teams that need to, if you got under 30 players, you need to take a look at 8-man because it's hard to compete. If you've got 27, 28 players, it's hard to compete with a team with 40 or 45. There's just it's just off. Even those 10 players can make a difference. So you got to take a look at it. For Izell, this was one of the best moves that they've ever made, I'm sure, in terms of what their fans think. And how about that introduction to 8-man football? If they'd come in and lost 2 or 3 games, people would be going, well, this didn't help anything. It's the same thing. But now they've come in, they've won 3 straight, and I guarantee you people over there love the move. If they didn't love it at first, which my understanding was they did love the move, if they didn't love it then, they have to love it now. Just 3 straight wins, great confidence boost for the players. If you're classical, the first game of the year, we gave them a lot of credit, and they did come back from being 12 down by 12. But I almost wonder if that was really classical being good. I'm not discrediting the players and the effort they put out. I'm really not. But you have to wonder when, they roll out, and I'm going to pull the scores up on 8manextreme.com.
Yeah, they had a come from behind victory against Bowling Green Christian, who their only win has been against Lighthouse at this point.
Well, and then I'm looking at week 2. Let's see, they didn't play week 2. Week 3 was
against 50 to 22.
Riverside, yeah. So they lost 50 to 28.
That's right. It was
50 to 28,
score,
yeah. So, win against Bowling Green, but then now you've taken 2 divisional losses. So it's kind of the reverse situation of the Heat. Yeah, your win was great to break that losing streak, kick the season off with a win. But then now you've lost 2 straight divisional games. So they've got a tough road ahead of them. Nothing's impossible. They could still get that 3rd seed. But they got a lot of work to do, and it starts on Friday night.
Yeah, it starts.
Well, they're going to bye Friday night, so next Friday.
Classical, fortunately, has a bye on Friday night after that tough 2-game stretch against Riverside and Ezell, but they get right back into it facing off against the Tennessee Heat at home on Saturday after that game. And as for the Ezell Harding Eagles, they continue their stretch of now 8 games in a row where they're playing before they have a bye week on fall break because of them picking up that Tennessee Heat game. So now they are 3-0 on their season, 2-0 in the South, and they travel to face off against the defending national champions and defending conference champions.
We'll break that game down in
the Evangel
at
Christian
the end of the
School
show.
Lightning. And the game that we had the pleasure of broadcasting, 48-32. The Patriots broke their losing streak. The last time they had a win was against the Christian Community Colts in that amazing MTAC championship game in 2017. Then the losing streak began in 2018. And the Lighthouse Christian School Lions, the struggle still continues for them as they are now 0-3 on their season, 0-2 in the North. But the Lions kept it close. They kept it close throughout the entire game. The only reason it's 48-32 was that it was a 1-score game, and then South Haven scored with about 2 minutes left to go in the 4th. So the Patriots, very well-deserved win for them. The frustrations are over. And at least for South Haven, they got to turn around 6 days after their game to play the Tennessee School for the Vikings, which we'll go into that in just a little bit. But great job by the Patriots to break that losing streak from 2018 and to get their first wins in 2017.
I almost forgot to mention this with you, but I bet you're pretty glad I told you I had you use that selfie stick on those post-game interviews, huh? I didn't realize he's doing the interview and they run up and dump the water on Coach Zimmerman. I didn't know that happened, and then I saw a video on Instagram.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, Spitzer's doing the interview. Oh, my gosh. I was like,
that again, that's like I said on the field, that's why I have a waterproof case on my phone.
Exactly.
For moments like that.
And the phone 3 feet away from you, too.
Exactly. It was amazing.
But, no, that was a great game. I could have sworn we were going to get overtime. But for South Haven, they had the lead, and Lighthouse had a lead. South Haven took the lead back. And if history repeated itself, they would have given that lead up. But it didn't. They learned their lesson. They figured out what they needed to do with especially with having a 2-week break. Now, they still have to work on the center. They still have to work on the snaps. That situation popped up on them a couple times Friday night. But that was a great gutsy win for the Patriots. For the Lions, I really don't think you have anything to be ashamed of. I think I think maybe you give Nick Kennard a few more touches and work some different things around. But they've got some players. They got some playmakers. Aiden Hooper had some great throws the other night. He's got an arm. He's just got to get the accuracy down pat and get the timing with the receivers right. Because there were times that he would overthrow a guy and the guy stopped. So they've got to get that worked out. But once they can get that worked out, they'll be okay. But a great game. I had fun broadcasting it. I had fun broadcasting it 10 minutes from my house. That's always a cool situation. Well, listen, we do games in Franklin. You're 10 minutes from home here.
It's actually
So
20.
whatever.
It's still
Closer than
20.
my drive,
Yeah, it's closer
son.
to yours.
20
Yeah.
minutes, I'm not even back to Nashville. But it was nice to do a game there in town. Always loved being able to stay there in town and just be right there and know a lot more people. But
Right.
great situation and great game to broadcast.
Yeah, it was fantastic. The Patriots, they celebrate this weekend for their first victory since
They
2017.
don't celebrate for long.
But they turn around 6 days after their game, which is now 4 days from now, and they face off against the Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings.
So
on
Spencer,
Thursday.
you wanna run through and do a standings recap
Oh,
real
yeah.
quick while I get
Yeah,
Coach
sure.
Cooper on the phone.
Go through that. And as for the Lighthouse Christian School Lions, they have their stretch of 7 games in a row continue as they also have to turn around 4 days from now and face off against the Tennessee Heat in a much-needed divisional game. 8manextreme.com. If you look at the standings page, we've got them all up to date for you. In the North, as it technically is, the Christian Community School Colts are 2-1 overall. They've got a 2-0 lead in the division. So technically, as it stands, the Colts would be number 1 seed in the North. Patriots will be number 2 seed, and the Warriors will be number 3 seed technically because of the whole 1-1, 1-0 records just by percentage. MTAC South, however, the Eagles are 2-0 in the division. Falcons would be number 2 seed at 1-0. And then just by winningest percentage, the Knights would be 2-1. Actually, Lancaster Christian, yeah, because Lancaster Christian, they have not played any games in the South at this point. So technically, Riverside Christian would be the number three seed just because of their percentage. But of course, playoff picture takes a long time for it to fully be configured out and everything. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to have people on the show to hear about different perspectives, not just from the league, but from the independent teams we cover. And this year, the only team that we cover independently for the second year in a row is the Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings, who are part of the Mason-Dixon League, and we are incredibly proud to have Coach Jordan Cooper.
Mason-Dixon League.
Yes, Mason-Dixon. That's what I corrected myself on.
Right,
So we have Coach Jordan Cooper, the head coach of the Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings. How are things up in Knoxville, Coach?
Going well. Can't complain. How are you guys doing?
Doing all right.
We're having fun. Looking forward to that game on Thursday night. How excited are the guys to get to make the trip to Middle Tennessee? I know you got some guys with family and maybe West Tennessee, so a little bit closer for their families to watch the game, huh?
Yeah, it's a really cool opportunity when we get to go west. I got a lot of kids who actually live in Nashville. Got some kids who live in Jackson, and they're already talking about mom and dad actually being able to come and see a game. So they're really pumped for next week.
That's awesome. That's awesome. How long have you guys been able to practice, and what's been the vibe for practice so far? Of course, this is y'all's first game, so not a lot of people know a whole lot about you. They might have gotten to see with the Heat last year, but I'm sure the team's a little bit different. So give everybody kind of an update on where the team at, maybe some people to keep an eye on.
Yeah, we're 3 weeks in. This upcoming week is our 4th week. We kind of got a little bit of a late start this year, but we got 18 players on the roster this year. There's a really positive vibe. The boys they're ready to go. It's probably the most positive group I've had. It's only my second year, but I've been around with the program for 9 years, and this group's really motivated and they're ready to go. I got a good group of juniors, led by Jerry Williams, our quarterback. He's really grown, put on some muscle this summer. He looks really good, throwing the ball pretty well. So I'm really excited to see what he can do this fall. Lorenzo Curry, I think you got to see him in that Heat game last fall.
Super impressed.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's a baller, and he's actually starting the year off with us. Last year, he didn't know whether he wanted to play football or not, and this year he's been motivated from the get-go. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do from day one going forward this Thursday. Rye Carlin, Malcolm Williamson, we got a lot of juniors who they can do some special stuff for us this year.
Now, Coach, for those who don't know, this is South Haven. It's only the second, I believe, the second or third team you have played from the Middle Tennessee.
Should be the third because you played Swanee in the Heat.
Yeah, this is the third unique team that you've played from the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference because Swanee was the first one you guys used to play actively, and then, of course, picking up against the Tennessee Heat last year. For those who don't know, What encouraged your athletic program to reach out and start facing off against teams from the Middle Tennessee Athletic Conference? What really started that regular yearly tradition of starting to play teams that are more distant from Knoxville?
Well, I mean, we travel, man. We play schools for the deaf around the
Hmm.
Southeast. And so we've been all the way to Baton Rouge. We go to Jackson, Mississippi. We're to North Carolina, South Carolina. So to Nashville is nothing for us. We don't mind that trip. It's cool to pick up a Thursday night game.
Hmm.
A lot easier on us as a program sometimes than taking a 12-hour trip to Baton Rouge, Louisiana,
Right.
And we just recently, the North Carolina Schools for the Deaf, Eastern North Carolina School for the Deaf and North Carolina School for the Deaf both closed their programs down, and the Georgia School for the Deaf. So
Wow.
we lost 3 programs we can play against. So we got to start finding 8-man teams. Luckily this year, Florida came down to 8-man. They've been 11-man for a very long time. So we get to play them. Alabama's willing to play us 8-man. They're normally 11-man. So able to keep those traditional schools for the deaf on the schedule. But at the same time, we got to supplement somehow to keep a decent schedule alive.
I got you. With the travel, like I said, you guys are coming to Middle Tennessee on Thursday. But near the end of the season, I know it's ways off, but near the end of the season, you guys have Tennessee Heat coming to town. Of course, you guys came and played the Heat to close out the season last year. But how cool is it to have a team from Tennessee be willing to come out there to you guys and make the trip out there to play y'all and kind of have a. I know like you said, you play teams from all over the South. But how cool is it to have the experience of having another team in town or in the state that y'all really haven't played a whole lot and have them come into y'all's place?
I think it's a really cool opportunity. I mean, we've had Sewanee a couple times come into Knoxville, and we've always enjoyed it. The thing is, it's a great cultural opportunity for the teams out at MTAC. Especially the Sewanee boys. I still remember them interacting with our team, and it might be their first experience with a deaf individual. And I think it's a wonderful opportunity for the hearing community, as many as possible, to get that interaction and realize there is no difference.
Right.
And yeah, I think the cultural opportunity is the best part of it. It's good for our boys, and it's good for the teams that come in. So I'm looking forward to having the Heat. Hope to have a great game. We're going to do the best we can to host them and make sure that they feel at home in Knoxville when they come in.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong. People looking at there being a difference between deaf 8-man football and regular 8-man football. It's almost like people looking at the difference from 8-man football to 11-man football. It's football is football. It doesn't matter the label you want to put on it. Football is football. Am I right?
Preach. I completely agree.
All right. Well, it's Sunday. I can preach.
Yep. Do it.
Yeah, this isn't really a question, but just to build on to what you said about seeing there's no difference realistically between deaf football and regular football. Because I remember the first time James and I ever called a game together was your guys' game against the Georgia School for the Deaf, where it was
Mississippi.
It was Mississippi School for the Deaf, where we went up there, and it was, for me, I had never been in an environment where there were a deaf school environment or hearing impairment, things like that. I was never submerged in that environment until 2016, and for me, it was just amazing to see the environment of all the fans, the parents, and everybody who all of them were just incredibly treating it like a regular high school football game. It was just amazing to see that environment. So it was really great to go up there and see that game. So I completely agree with what you're saying about the environments are exactly the same.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, football is football, like you guys said. I mean, we've been doing it since 1892 at TSD, and there's a proud alumni association, and everyone in the community really supports us. So, I mean, people love their football, no matter whether it's 8-man or 11-man.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've got to ask you, out there in East Tennessee, of course, you guys being the only 8-man team currently, I mean, Sewanee right there on the edge, kind of, but you guys are the only designated 8-man team currently. Have you heard from other schools that are potentially looking at making the move, or have you heard from anybody?
I have not. We were hoping there's a local Christian school that I think they dropped football for the year, and we were planning on contacting them, seeing if they were willing to do 8-man or something, but they just said they were dropping the program. for a year. They're going to suspend it and start it back up next year. I would love to see some more of these smaller private schools get into the action. I think it'd be great.
Well, and like we were saying earlier, you see what happened with Ezel Harding, making the move, and now they're 3-0. They haven't scored fewer than 60 points. It's been a great adrenaline shot for them just to kind of reboot their football program.
Right. And I don't know. I don't know how you guys feel about it. The way the game's going, if you have a smaller roster, why would you endanger, players? I don't know. Maybe I'm by myself. But, maybe you guys are with me on this. But if you got a small roster, why put them in danger of, 11-on-11 football? You got guys playing both ways for 4 quarters. I don't see the point of it.
Right.
At the end of the day, it's about safety of the players. And if 8-man football is the safest thing for our players, then that's the way we need to go.
Exactly. One last question, Coach. A lot of people who might not be familiar with how TSD operates with their schedule. You look at your football schedule, and you guys have quite a few games on Thursday nights, a couple Saturday games. A lot of people wondering why don't they have Friday night games. So explain to everybody. I know what the difference is, but there's a lot of people that don't. So explain to everybody how the schedule kind of works and how you end up playing some Thursday and some Saturday games.
Yeah, we're a residential school, and we're located in Knoxville, and we got kids from all over the state. I mean, Memphis, Jackson, Nashville, Knoxville, Bristol. So our kids will go home on Fridays, and they come back on Sundays. And our goal is not to keep our kids away from their families multiple weekends in a row.
Right.
And if the best way to do that is to have a Saturday game or to have Thursday games, that's what we'll do. You'll notice that we kind of like checkerboarded a little bit. We got a Thursday, then you go to a Saturday game, then a Thursday game. We try not to do 2 weekends in a row.
Right.
I mean, I know what it's like to be a teenager, and I would hate to be away from my family for, 16 days straight. It's really tough. So we try to take care of our athletes as an individual person first. I want to make sure they're taken care of and they get to see mom and dad on the weekends. And to us, that's more important than, getting that Friday night in.
I know I said that was the last question, but I do have to ask you, going into Thursday night, you guys go to South Haven. What's the message to your guys coming to Middle Tennessee and playing a team that traditionally has done pretty well?
Just play ball. I mean, let's go have fun. That's my thing. These boys have been hitting each other these last 3 to 4 weeks. Let's just go have fun. Let's do what we can do. Don't play beyond yourselves. Let's have fun. Let's play our game.
Sounds good. I'm good.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, we appreciate you taking time out of your Sunday, Coach Cooper, to come on the show and just get some insight and such. Best of luck to you guys on Thursday. We're looking forward to seeing a great game.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Yep,
Thanks, sir. We'll see you.
That was Coach Jordan Cooper of the Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings, our head coach, and it's time for us to get into our previews of the games, James. Unless you have any other shameless self-promotions like you usually do.
No, we're taking. Of course, we just dropped a new episode of Extreme Talk. Spencer and I got a chance to sit down. That was last Thursday. Mm-hmm. Taking this Thursday off with the game coming up. Yep. So no Extreme Talk this week with the game on Thursday.
So here we go. Helmet schedules. Top to bottom, let's do it.
What if I don't want to pull out my helmet schedule?
You don't have to.
I'm
just saying. I'm telling this to the fans. You don't have to listen to me. That's just how it is.
Whatever.
All right. Bowling Green Christian Academy is the only team in the North who has a bye week now. We'll get into the Thursday games first. So, the Tennessee Heat is facing off against the Lighthouse Christian School
Spencer,
Lions on Thursday.
I got to stop you.
Of course you do.
Tennessee Heat are. Heat is plural. Heat are.
I thought you were about to do a shameless self.
Oh, no. I just got to correct your grammar.
Tennessee Heat.
You know how it is.
The Tennessee Heat collide with the Lighthouse
there you
Christian
go.
School Lions. So the Lions have no W's on the season thus far. They're 0-3, 0-2 in the North.
Oof, that's a rough way to put it.
This game, if they don't get a W, then they're officially out. They're officially out of the playoffs, it almost looks like, since there are only 5 teams because they have 3 losses. They would have to hope that a bunch of other teams lose and such. It's virtually it's about the same chances the Cleveland Browns had in the playoffs last year. I'm just being realistic here. I'm going by statistics, but for Lighthouse Christian School, they have to get this win to try and stay.
You
in the
are
hunt
not a
for
Browns
the playoffs.
fan this year.
No, I'm not.
You think they're overhyped?
I want to see them win games first before anything else. I'm on the same side as Stephen A. Smith. Can we at least see him win games?
All right.
before you overhype them.
All right.
But 8-man football, Lighthouse, Tennessee Heat. This is a do or die situation for both teams in terms of playoff seeding.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very crucial game. Of course, let's see, it's at the Heat. So yeah, it must be because Mount Juliet Christian has a game on Friday. But huge matchup. If you're the Heat, if you lose, you got two division losses. You know, they're both trying to bounce back from what they. It's been a disappointing start. They did not want to start this way. So it's been this is a bounce back game for both of them.
Mm-hmm.
I have
per his preseason predictions
that were
pre-Jamboree.
2 weeks before the Jamboree. I've got the Tennessee Heat winning this game. This is a toss-up game, but yeah, toss-up. We make the toss-up motion. But this is I do have the Tennessee Heat winning.
So Tennessee Heat, he's got the W for them on Thursday. The other Thursday game happening, we are going to be broadcasting that one as James leaked earlier in the year. Leaked earlier in the year. The South Haven Christian School Patriots host the Tennessee School for the Deaf Vikings. First time that they have ever faced each other in their school's history. It's going to be a historic game.
Cool.
But at the end of the day, somebody's got to win it, James. Who do you got winning it?
That somebody is going to be South Haven. I think South Haven racks up their second win of the season. It's not that I don't like what Tennessee School for the Deaf has, but I think South Haven's on a roll now, and I think they'll get up and roll. And again, I'm not just trying to pass this off as this is what I think so far from the season. Looking back, I already predicted South Haven win, and now that I've seen the results of everything that that's happened, I do think. And here's the thing about the South Haven FCA game: it wasn't a blowout game either. So even though I picked that one incorrectly, it still wasn't a blowout. So I think South Haven keeps the momentum going. Of course, getting to play at home, they don't have to make the 3-hour drive. A lot of things in their favor. I've got South Haven picking up the win.
So South Haven W in James's books. Christian Community was originally going to host the Sacred Heart of Jesus High School Knights, but of course they forfeited their season, and they picked up a game where Christian Community has an 8-game stretch, which you would think a team would maybe take a bye week on that, but repetition under some coaches' cases is better than having a break in the middle. But you talk about guys being banged up. That's the potential here, especially with the game they picked up. Franklin Christian Academy Falcons. Regardless of what size the Falcons have, they always on the defensive side. They are very, very strong under the leadership of Shaka Hill.
Well, thanks to the I was about to say thanks to the guy I interviewed on the second episode.
Again,
of
shameless self-promotion.
Shameless self-promotion.
The good news is for you, James, is that this game did not exist pre-Jamboree, was not on the schedule, so you get to make a fresh prediction.
Oh, thanks for throwing me under the bus there, Spence.
I wasn't throwing you. I'm saying that it was.
Well, I can't use the excuse that was picked 2 weeks before the Jamboree.
You weren't going to use it anyway. You did the same thing with the Zell and the Heat when they did that game. You used that excuse anyway.
Sure. No, I'm picking FCA on this game. I'm taking the Falcons over the Colts. I think the Falcons have got it rolling. Yeah, the Colts won Friday night, but you look at the and
the Falcons won Friday night too.
Well, they both won, but if you look at the CCS Bowling Green game, it was 80-50.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been like 80-30. So it's say a 50-point difference, but FCA had pretty much the same point difference on Bowling Green. It was 50-6. So I think FCA is going to have the upper hand. I think the Falcons keep rolling. I've got them picking up the win.
Even on the road in
in White House.
Still got them winning. So FCA gets it done. Now going to the MTAC South. The only team that is on a bye week in the MTAC South is Franklin Classical. So only 2 teams off. Riverside Christian, they host the Freedom Cowboys in Fayetteville. Again, as we mentioned earlier when we were recapping the games, the Cowboys have 5 different teams from MTAC they're playing this season, and this is game 2 for them as they beat the Tennessee Heat when they hosted them at home in Huntsville. But for Riverside Christian, they are currently on a 2-win streak. Is it going to be a 3-win streak for them?
Now I got to pull it up. Now this is the Freedom Cowboys.
You're supposed to have your
now
picks
this is
already.
The Freedom Cowboys' 3rd overall game. They beat Ezekiel Academy Friday night, like I mentioned. Ezekiel lost to Evangel for the ACSC state championship last year. So the Cowboys, they've been rolling. I'm trying to get a roster for them, try to figure out what they've got on their team. If you're in Alabama, by the way, and you're listening, we're looking to expand, kind of like that cover 8 football in Illinois. But anyways,
info at 8manextreme.com.
there you go. I have Riverside picking up the win against the Cowboys, though.
You got Riverside taking that W. We already mentioned the Franklin Christian CCS game. The only other game going on between two South teams is Lancaster Christian. They host the St. Andrew Swanee Mountain Lions at Smyrna Middle for their home field. And Swanee on an 0-2 losing streak at the moment for the season. And with both of those losses being in the South, this is another situation of do or die for playoff seeding, because it looks a little bit better when you are 1-2 in the South than it is for 0-3. But for Swanee, this is a tough one.
I'm actually getting an update right now that on Max Preps, someone put that Freedom had won the game, and that is incorrect. They're saying that Ezekiel beat Freedom. So I'm going to double check that, as well as triple check that, because I don't want to misspeak. Let's see.
One of those moments where we're trying to make sure that the scores are correct, and James, again,
one of those moments where
he gets distracted.
It'd be nice to have a third person in studio.
Of course, get a stat guy looking up stuff, but
contact us.
For the Mountain Lions, they have to get this win if they want to try and keep their playoff hopes alive. But against Lancaster Christian and the dominant offense they've had this year, it's going to be incredibly tough. As James Shannon is still trying to look up this stat and make sure he's got the right W, and when we've already moved on from the Freedom Cowboys.
Okay, so Ezekiel did win. Shout out to Mr. Hank St. Dennis for the heads up. Ezekiel beat Freedom, but Freedom had already won a game. So Freedom is 2-1 right now. Like I said, Ezekiel beat Freedom, and Ezekiel is sitting at. It's important to know what's going on with other states, especially when you start playing them in football.
Right.
Ezekiel sits at 2-1, having beat the Cowboys. Let's see, they lost 30-0 to Russell Christian, who CCS has played a couple times, and then they beat Tabernacle Christian out of Alabama. So they sit at 2-1. Freedom Cowboys sit at 2-1. Riverside Christian sits at 2-1, and I think Riverside Christian moves to 3-1 on the season.
All right. 3-1 for that. And the game that we are broadcasting this week, ladies and gentlemen, it's a beauty. We, for the first time in 8-Man Extreme history, is it the first time that we're heading down to Alabama?
Yes, sir.
First time in 8-Man Extreme history, we're heading down to Alabama. The Ezell Harding Christian School Eagles, the new kids on the block for 8-man football in Tennessee, they're facing off against the defending conference champions for ACSC and the defending national champions.
NHSA national champions.
NHSA national champion Evangel Christian School Lightning, who beat the defending MTAC
it's gonna be a good
champions,
game. I'm
Christian
hype.
Unity Colts. So we're taking that travel down to Alabama. It's going to be a fantastic game to see the new kids on the block. And my goodness.
How many times can you say new kids on the block in one
do you want me to go with Backstreet Boys?
No, let's not. Let's not say we did.
But the Eagles, as the newest team, they face off against one of the longer tenured 8-man football teams in the Southeast. And James, you have to make a pick on this one.
I am not going to be the hometown boy. I think that Evangel Christian picks up the win, and I don't see Ezell doing it. The teams they've played so far, I mean, Riverside gave them a run for their money, but they've played some teams that are struggling. They have not played a team like Evangel. I've got Evangel picking up the win.
Ooh, that's a hot take.
But I'll still drive to Alabaster, Alabama, or Montevallo, Alabama, wherever it is. I'll still drive down and watch the game, broadcast the game, because I'm interested in it. That's a huge matchup.
Oh, yeah. It's a great matchup. So only two teams, so Franklin Classical and Bowling Green Christian. Why don't you watch our broadcast this week? You're on a bye week. And all the other teams on Thursday, all the other teams on Thursday, aside
How about
from
catch you some school for the deaf.
catch you some school for the deaf in South
That's
Haven.
what I just said.
Either that, or you could probably go to the Tennessee Heat Lighthouse game. But actually, here's what you do:
Go to
the
Tennessee
the
Heat Lighthouse game, watch
and
our
watch
game.
our game.
Boom!
Exactly.
Best of both worlds.
Exactly. And same thing on Friday. Go to any of the games that are going on Friday and get our game on your phone. Get the bell on. Just get the bell on.
That's my phrase.
And
Why would you say my phrase?
we steal our phrases
Get the
all
bell
time.
on. No, hang on. ASMR.
Ladies and gentlemen, you just need to get the bell on. Just
Nobody cares.
subscribe
That's what I'm saying.
and get that little bell on. You'll get notifications when we go live.
Our first doubleheader of the year. We are headed to Springfield again.
That
for
was
the second week in a row.
ASMR presented by 8-Man Extreme.
We're heading to
Subscribe.
2 weeks in a row. We're going to be in Springfield for the Patriots and the
I
Vikings.
ain't even mad about it.
Of course not. It's a bunch of great matchups. And then Friday, for the first time in 8-Man Extreme history, we do a broadcast from Alabama.
Yes, we
Not the
will be
first time-
broadcasting Ezel Evangel
Not
Friday
the
night.
first time that I've broadcasted from Alabama, though. Because
Oh, you did do a broadcast in Alabama
I
with
did
FCA.
I did FCA, and I want to say it was Freedom, maybe, or it may have been.
No, it would have been
I think it was some
Tuscaloosa Christian or Tabernacle.
It was Tuscaloosa.
Tuscaloosa,
Tuscaloosa
yeah.
Christian.
Yeah.
Yep. So this will be the second time I'm
So
broadcasting.
yes,
from
we will be
Alabama.
broadcasting Evangel, Ezel. We'll be leaving here about 1:30, 1:45, making the 3-hour drive down.
It's going to be a good travel, and it's your anniversary
Be a lot of
weekend too.
fun. Oh,
Happy
thanks
anniversary
for,
for
I appreciate that. 5 years.
5 years
On
of-
Thursday, which is when we're broadcasting another
Oh, yeah.
game.
Yeah, for those of you,
The wife is cool with it. Let's
Yep.
just put that out there. The wife is cool with this. It's been explained. We'll probably be spending the night down in Alabama on Friday night. So
probably we are.
everything's cool. Well, we are. Yeah, we are. And then taking her to a nice dinner on Saturday back up here in town. So just to put everyone's minds to rest,
Where's
the
it-
wife is understandable.
Where's it you're taking her? on
I
Saturday?
can't say. Well,
you
yeah,
can.
I can't because she doesn't listen to the show. Taking her to Maggiano's.
Maggiano's.
Yeah,
That's not a bad choice.
it's good stuff.
I've never been there, but it's not a bad choice. Endorsing something
I
I've
could
never
have
been to.
sworn you've been there. They're not a
Maggiano's.
sponsor, but if you want to, Maggiano's.
S. Tom said at 8manextreme.com.
Yeah, there you go.
Send me an email. Send me an email. That'll wrap up Extreme Radio this week, presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Any shameless self-promotions before we get into our sponsors? Nothing? Nothing this week? Okay, as he's drinking
I've already done them all.
You say that, but every week you go, oh, I forgot something this time. I
hang
forgot
on.
something.
Game Thursday, Game Friday. I mean, obviously follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
No Extreme Talk this week.
No Extreme Talk this week.
Get the bell on.
But of course, this week you can go to 8manextreme.com, and starting this week, well, starting last week, but you can order your merch.
Yep. We got
it's
only one
right
shirt on
over
there.
here on the chair.
Yeah, we got some merch.
I think we've got like
Several
eight.
different sizes.
We got eight or 9 shirts, so it's super limited. So go ahead and get them.
Yep.
But 8 or 9 shirts, and we've got mediums. I think we started at medium, go up to 2X.
Yep.
So you're
Get
gonna
the
want
shirts.
to.
Get the shirts. So, Extreme Radio presented by GracePointe Healthcare. Go to GracePointeHealthcare.com. They just launched a new website about a month ago. Request an appointment online. If you mention you're with 8-Man Extreme, you get $20 off your new patient office visit fee. GracePointe Healthcare, modern medicine the old-fashioned way. Sponsored by Dr. Sterling Foster. Go to drsterlingfoster.com for all your digestive issues and chiropractic needs. We got 2 more sponsors.
All right, it's Jets Pizza, specifically Springfield, Clarksville, Fort Campbell. If you're in the hey, check this out. Folks going to the South Haven, Tennessee School for the Deaf game. All right, hit
Let's
up the
get
Jets in Springfield.
Bring it
Take
to
the
the game.
10-minute drive, 5-minute drive to Martin Luther King Jr. Park. It's back behind Walmart. I know. I live in Springfield. So pick up your Jets, pre-order it, pick it up, take it to the ball game. They'll let you go in the ball game with it.
Yep.
Sit at the ball game, watch the game, get your Jets pizza.
It's never a bad time. to
Bam.
say.
That's all you got to do.
And
And even if you're not going to be in Springfield, no matter where you are, it's always a great time. Just say JETS, let's get Jets. You know? And hey, listen, this weekend, we got a game on Thursday night. We got a game on Friday night in Alabama.
I can't wait to
We're
hear
spending
this
the
one.
night. We're going to be coming back on Saturday. Got dinner on Saturday night. Got the show on Sunday.
I can't wait to hear this build up and where this ends.
I don't have time to be looking for insurance. That is why I trust my buddy Joe Graves. I hate buying insurance.com. Just go check them out. That's all I'm saying. Go give them a shout. Go take a look. I'm on the website right now. It looks fantastic. I mean, it's great. Easy to maneuver. I think it's easy to maneuver. It's not the only website you should be checking out, 8minutestream.com, but IHateBuyingInsurance.com. There you go.
That wraps up our show. Just to let you know again,
Hey,
Thursday
how about this?
There's your shameless
NHSA rankings are out. We're getting this update from Mr. Hank St. Dennis, who runs the tournament in Florida. Evangel number 1 versus number 5 Ezel, broadcasting a top 5 game.
And I'm sure he's going to be watching that Friday night.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. You know that's what's up.
He's going to be tuned into that for sure. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's wrapping up. Thursday, we've got the Patriots and the Vikings, our first doubleheader of the year. And then Friday, we've got the Lightning and the Eagles. So for James Shannon, all the hardworking men and women.
Could be the Chargers. Chargers, Eagles.
Yeah, it could. For all the hardworking men and women that make Game and Extreme what it is, and especially happy anniversary to James and Monica. So I'm Spencer Thompson. We'll see you Thursday and Friday.
See ya!